Ed on the show today, but Ed had to back out. He got tied up with some other things, and I decided I would do a YouTube Live. It's been a little while since we've done a YouTube Live. I've kind of committed to do more YouTube Lives, and I really don't know what to expect. I do TikToks and Substacks and that sort of thing, and we get people coming into the live, and that helps out a lot. That helps out a great deal. It makes the whole presentation more interesting. So we'll see if we get anybody showing up in the middle of the day on a YouTube Live. We're seeing a bit of business going on in Washington, D.C., but we really don't know how this is all going to end up. Donald Trump said yesterday, because there was a loggerheads with regards to passing a deal to open up the Department of Homeland Security again. The Department of Homeland Security is shut down. And the big contention here is, of course, that the Republicans want to pay for everything, DHS, Coast Guard, FEMA, and all that stuff, but also ICE. They want to give ICE more money. But here's the problem. ICE already got tons of money in the big, beautiful deal earlier this year. They're still getting paid in spite of the shutdown, but everybody else is not getting paid. Democrats have a problem with regards to paying ICE more money, given that they've spent some time killing innocent people on the streets of Minneapolis, kidnapping 5-year-old kids and more. We've got Democrats basically saying, yeah, we don't like this idea. We're not going to do it if you fund ICE. So that's where the butting of heads has come in. And they couldn't come to a deal. The Democrats wouldn't agree to anything where ICE would get money, and Republicans insisted that ICE get money. And the reason they did that is because Donald Trump insisted that that's what would happen. So anyway, Donald Trump comes out and he says, look, I'm just going to sign an executive order and pay TSA. I'm going to instruct Department of Homeland Security to pay TSA in spite of the shutdown. Now, he could have done that some time ago, but he chose not to. The real fact of the matter is though it's not really legal for him to do that. He's not in charge of the purse strings. The House of Representatives is. So we've got to see what happens with that. Will there be a lawsuit or something filed against Donald Trump attempting this? So when Donald Trump did this, the Senate knew, the Republicans in the Senate knew this was going to be a shit show. This was going to be a problem. So they immediately passed a bipartisan bill that the Democrats have presented 11 times, and they've turned it down 11 times. But they knew the shit show with what Donald Trump was going to do was going to cause some embarrassment, so they quickly passed it. Now, that's good news for the Democrats. That's a win for the Democrats, but it's still got to go back to the House because now this bill has changed. And the House might be a little tougher sell to get this thing done. In fact, so much so that Mike Johnson apparently is considering not even putting it up for a vote. But let's say it goes to the House, and let's say the unforeseen happens, and the House actually passes this bipartisan bill, and we can open up DHS again, and TSA can get paid, and the lines will go away, and everything will be wonderful. Well, that still leaves it going to Donald Trump's desk, and will he sign it? The reason the Senate didn't agree to the bipartisan bill 11 times is because Donald Trump says, I don't like it, I don't want it, I don't want the deal. There's more to this than this DHS shutdown. See, Donald Trump is trying to use leverage to get his SAVE Act, his Election Bill Act, passed. And he's basically saying, I will sign this if the Democrats vote for the SAVE Act, which they are never going to do. Hell, a lot of the Republicans aren't going to vote for the SAVE Act. So Donald Trump is trying to push the issue, and that's not going to work. So he might very well, if it passes the Senate, well, it passed the Senate. If it passes the House, he may still not sign it. So we may be no closer to getting this shutdown done, in spite of the fact that a lot of people are getting pissed off about it. There's a lot of pushback with constituents, with their Republican representatives. They are angry. Donald Trump seems to think the Democrats are going to get the blame for this shutdown and these long lines. But that isn't quite the case. That's not really what's happening. All right, I got some people coming in here. Storm Rider says, at this early time, greetings from Germany. Well, hey, Germany, how you doing? Our buddy from the Rational Boomer podcast, Old Soul, is in Germany currently. I just heard from her yesterday, showed me some great pictures of the Black Forest. It's pretty cool, beautiful place. I'd like to get to Germany. My heritage is German to an extent, and I'd love to check out that beautiful country. Yudislav says, greetings from Nordica or Nordics. I don't know if you're talking about Nordic as we know it, Nordic, or something else. Maduri Kitchen said hi. Just Maggie, hi Mike, great surprise. Wilcock, howdy. Hey folks, how you doing? I'm glad you took the time to join me at this early hour. The reason I'm doing it at this early hour is because I initially planned to do a show with Ed, as I commonly do on Friday mornings, but something came up with Ed and he couldn't do it today. That happens now and again. And so I thought, well, I haven't done a live for a week or two. I'm committed to do more lives on YouTube, so I thought I'd stop back and see what the fuck happens. Probably not as busy as if I was going at night, but we get a lot of the foreign countries in here, and we've got a lot of people overseas that listen, so I appreciate it immensely. Tim for President says, I'm here in D.C. at the doorstep of our government running as an independent. Tired of both parties. Time for simple solutions. I agree. It's time for simple solution. I don't know if a third party is the answer at this point. God bless you for giving it a shot and trying to do what's best. I hope things go well for you. Oh, looky here. Old Soul just popped up. So I told you she's over in Germany, as well as one of our listeners here. She goes, Boomer, I just got in from the night here. Thought I'd catch up on the news and saw you're live. Yep. As I was just telling folks, I was going to do an interview with Ed, and Ed had to beg off, and I thought I'd sit here and do a YouTube live. And it is kind of early, and we're probably going to get fewer people coming through. But that, that's always been the case with anytime I do lives. It's not so much how many people come through, it's the quality of people that come through, and we're always very fortunate with quality folks. So, hey, Old Soul, stay safe over there. Enjoy your time in Germany. Let's see here. Stormrider says, well, I assume she's not that far away from where I live. Probably not. If you ever get a chance to meet Old Soul, it's quite an experience. She is a force of nature. Tim for President, don't need the whole party, just need to be the first one through the door. Well, I wish you luck. There have been many third-party folks out there that have tried things. Some came kind of close. But you know what, Tim? You may be coming at a good time because, we've always had the two parties pretty much controlling things. And there isn't a lot of love lost for either party anymore. Certainly less love for the Republicans, but even the Democrats have their issues too. You may be coming around at the right time, mainly because we're going to see the destruction of the Republican Party, and we might very well see the destruction of the entire system. As we look at what's going on in Washington, D.C. today, clearly we need to make some changes. Clearly we need to have a different system. We need some more guardrails over our politicians because they seem to get away with fucking anything. So, who knows? Maybe you're in at the right time when everything comes crashing down and you can be the phoenix rising from the ashes. Just Maggie says, last night you guys were talking about Germany and another country starting cashing in their gold. Can you talk about that? Well, I can talk about it. I don't know as much about it as some of the other guys that were with me last night on the TikTok Live, but I think we're going to see a lot of people looking at the United States as not a good bet, not a good investment anymore. I think maybe Eric or Will explained that Germany had bought some gold in the United States to kind of save them from the possibility of Russia invading Europe. 250 billion, I think. I think that's what it was. And they're selling that off because they're seeing a certain risk to being invested in the United States. There are a lot of treasury bonds out there. We owe trillions of dollars to other countries, Japan and other countries as well, own a lot of debt in this country. And if they start selling it off, we're going to have some serious problems with our economy. And that may be used as kind of a cudgel for foreign countries, because what Donald Trump is doing is not only affecting this country and Iran, but it's also affecting all of the Middle East and Europe. We got a lot of people pissed off at us, and a lot of people that probably aren't feeling confident about any investments they have in this country. Stormwriter says, but then again, Germany is small anyway. That's true. Just Maggie says, hi, old soul. Old soul says the Russian government at the White House. I hadn't heard that. That could be. You'll remember back when Donald Trump entered the White House in his first term, one of the first things he did is he had Russian spies in the Oval Office. And if you remember that whole exchange, there was kind of a whoopsie made. Apparently, Donald Trump, a brand new president, revealed some top secret information, military information, to these Russian spies. Now, what's interesting about that military information happened to be Israeli military information. And we see how things have kind of played out after that. We saw that Jack Smith document that came out that said Donald Trump was handling some very high-level, top-secret information and showing it to people on Mar-a-Lago's golf course. He also said that he had evidence of Donald Trump using this in terms of business dealings, suggesting that Donald Trump is selling this shit to people. Would that be a surprise? Fuck no, it's not a surprise. Tim for president, the new ballroom will be the courtroom for Nuremberg 2. It will be filmed in IMAX. Well, from your mouth to God's ears, I hope that's the case. I don't have a lot of confidence in the U.S. government at this point. I'm ready for somebody to come out after this is all said and done and said, well, we should just let it go and let people heal like they did during the Nixon administration. Well, after that experience, we should have learned a lesson. That was the wrong thing to do. By letting Richard Nixon go is probably one of the reasons why Donald Trump has been able to run roughshod over everything. He didn't feel as though that he was at any risk. We've got to make it so people are accountable so we don't have this happen again. Make no mistake, now that Donald Trump has broken these barriers, stepped over these norms, future presidents will feel more comfortable in doing that unless we make changes. And I'm talking about Republicans and or Democrats. There are bad people on both sides. So we do have to change things dramatically. And I think Eric was talking about this yesterday on the TikTok Live. We've got to make some more rules, some more accountability for presidents and members of Congress. So when Donald Trump and the Republicans are out of power, there's a lot of work that we have to put into it. It's going to take a while. Stormwriter says the Russian government sits at the White House and sat there from 2017 to 2021. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Zanus says, don't worry, we ain't pissed at the people. We just more pissed at your government. Thank you very much for that. That's something my wife always says. She says, God, I hope these countries understand it's not us. We love Germany. We love Europe. We love the Middle East. It's not our country. It's our government. It's a lot like Israel in that sense. You know, if you ever talk badly about Israel, people will say, oh, you're an anti-Semite. And that's just not true. The problem with Israel is the government. It's Bibi Netanyahu and everybody else that led up to him that believe in taking over land and committing genocide in the Middle East. Israel has a problem with their leadership. And I feel comfortable in saying that because we have that very same problem here. Around the world, this country, people are nervous about us. They don't trust us. They don't like us. but it's not the people. People are good people generally, not all of them, but many of them, most of them are. The problem is with our government. So Israel and America both have the same issues. Jamie says, has anyone noticed that Trump is looking more and more like South Park's Cartman? Yeah, yeah, he's not looking good. I just saw something where half his face was drooping and he was kind of listing to one side. Trouble is, he's just like a fucking cockroach, you know? Just when you think he's going down, just when you think he's not healthy enough anymore, he pops back like a little fucking cockroach, and it's unfortunate. You know, everybody's trying to decide how the end for Donald Trump will come. Will it come with an impeachment? Possible, not likely. The 25th Amendment, possible, but not likely. A Big Mac getting lodged in his gullet and having him choke on stage at the CPAC. That's a better chance. And I kind of hope for that. When it does occur, I hope it's very embarrassing for him because that's one thing that Donald Trump cannot deal with is embarrassment. Storm Rider says, I mean, we all have to deal with the Russian influence. Our Janos de Bosse was and is brought to. And I don't want to start with certain of our politicians that are still active. Yeah, you know, it's funny. Money in this country has really tainted how this country runs. Russia has money. Donald Trump is uh, uh, co-opted by Russia. We know there's Russian money with Donald Trump, always has been. Russia is the one that bailed him out when he was on the verge of bankruptcy. But not only that, we have to worry about Israel too. And the reason I say Israel, if you look at our Congress, the vast majority of people in Congress do get money from AIPAC. Now they'll say that it's not from the government, it's a different kind of PAC. That's not true. It does have to do with the government. And when you have a foreign government that is putting money in the pockets of our members of Congress, the vast majority of them, doesn't that trouble people? Isn't that something to be concerned about? Some people have even said that Israel occupied this country. And to an extent, that's true. Israel has a lot of control in this country, and the question is why? Well, a lot of it has to do with the evangelicals, the Christian nationalists, the Christian right. They look at Israel as a point in the Bible, and we've got to bow to whatever they want. We give them tens of billions of dollars every year. We protect them when they're in danger, in spite of the fact that they may be starting the fight, like with Iran. There's some issues there, and I think it's all due to money. And we've got to figure out a way to get money out of this system, out of this government, and we'll see what we can do. But we've got to get the Republicans out before we can do that. We're not going to do it with the current situation. Old Soul says, I don't know when Trump goes, just as long as he goes soon. Yeah, I agree. It doesn't really matter how it happens. I think the Republicans are going to be appalled when Donald Trump finally leaves. Donald Trump, whether he keels over and chokes on himself and shits himself to death, people are going to say that you shouldn't be happy for the demise of a human being. Human being. Fucking Republicans look at him as a god. We look at him as a demon. So the demise of somebody evil, that is something to cheer. And I think Republicans will be surprised because it won't be like Charlie Kirk, where we aren't sad enough or we haven't said the right things. It's going to be Mardi Gras up in this bitch. People are going to be dancing in the streets when Donald Trump is finally done. And they are going to be appalled. They're going to finally realize just how badly hated Donald Trump is. Stormrider says, Genose der Bosse, Gerhard Schroeder, Chancellor in the late 90s and 80s. Sorry about using the German description. No problem. I'm up for learning things. I'm just an old guy sitting in his living room talking shit. So uh, there's all kinds of things I can learn from doing these lives. And I do every day, When I do the podcast, I get the guests on. These are all people that are very smart. I learn a lot of things from Eric and Will and everybody else. And when I do the lives, I'm very fortunate that most of the people that come to the lives are very bright and have some insights that I certainly don't. Uh, just Maggie. Mike, it's going to be Mardi Gras in the streets. Absolutely. I know. I've been thinking about going on TikTok or YouTube and just playing the song Celebrate by Cool and the Gang on that day. Celebrate good times. There's a party going on. Um, it's going to, it's one of those things we've been looking for, and everybody gets up in the morning and they look to the paper and they go, fuck, has it happened yet? And it hasn't, of course. But a boy can dream at some point. Did you see this story? I find this kind of funny. Um, the Cash Patel, the FBI director, did you hear that his personal email was hacked by Iranian hackers? Now, nothing was released as yet that's any damning type thing. It was kind of a show of power. They they posted his resume and a bunch of pictures, him looking goofy as fuck. Certainly not like a FBI director. It was more of an embarrassment as opposed to exposing so many crimes or corruption that he might be involved in. But I think they were sending a message saying, we can get to you, motherfucker. Just wait till we get to the serious stuff. Now, what's interesting about this Cash Patel email, we know that there isn't a lot of national security with regards to this administration. And if Cash Patel transferred some information that might be top secret or classified, that may cause Cash Patel some problems. I mean, you could hack my email and probably wouldn't find anything, but I have a feeling Cash Patel, whether it be dealing with his girlfriends or his Secret Service agents or his buddies when he's trying to flex his power, there's probably some embarrassing shit out there, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. Storm Rider says early 2000s. I mean, Schroeder was the Russian in our government, but once the orange one is gone, I will celebrate too. I think the entire world will. Um, Robert says, do you make dictatorship instead of administration? Well, what we're looking at with Donald Trump is an attempt at a dictatorship. I mean, there's still some guardrails, but he's acting as if he's a dictator. He admitted that he was going to be a dictator. Somebody says, you forgot to take your medicine again, I guess. What the fuck are you talking about? See, I don't know if this is a Trump fuck or not. But when somebody does that, they're trying to embarrass me. And you have to understand, you can't embarrass me. Under no circumstances can you embarrass me. You know why? Because I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what Trumplefucks think. See, that's the thing. People always want me to argue with Trumplefucks, and I don't because they're too stupid. We can't speak at the same level. And so there's no point. I can't give you facts and information and expect you to comprehend it. So what is the point? So the only thing left with Trumplefucks is to make them inconsequential. You don't matter. Your point of view doesn't matter. So say whatever you want. I don't fucking care. Storm Rider says, I've got a good bottle of whiskey and a good cigarette. I'm a non-smoker here waiting for that day. I will put both to good use that day. I think a lot of people will. Um, uh, Woodsy person says, I was laughing at Mike Johnson presenting Trump with the newest participation trophy. Oh, fuck yeah. Once everybody found out that Donald Trump likes trophies and he likes awards, They're falling all over themselves trying to make up awards like America First Award. I'd like to understand how a guy wins an America First Award and then go starts a war in Iran. Trumplefucks, please explain. Please explain. Just Maggie says, I blocked him. Bot. Yeah, no doubt. It's a bot. You know what, Maggie? Um, I've gotten to the point on TikTok where I block so many Trumplefucks I really don't get um, much conversation with them. When I do TikTok lives, I have moderators, and they usually block them. I don't. I don't really get too shook about Trumplefucks. I expect it, and frankly, I take it as a badge of honor. If I know I can get in their fucking heads, I'm cool with it. They can say whatever they want. Um, Benjamin says, you friends with Palm Beach Pete? Who the fuck is Palm Beach Pete? Are you talking Hegseth? And what the fuck kind of question is that? Arguing with a fool is just two fools arguing. You're absolutely right. What do you think about the recent Trump decisions? Well, yeah, I think this guy's a bot. What do you mean decisions? Let me ask you this. What do I think about the recent Trump decisions? Give me a specific decision and I'll give you an answer if you can. If you're a bot, you can't. And if you're a bot, we can just remove you. That's what we did. We just removed that dumbass motherfucker. The thing about it is you hear from Republicans and they talk some shit. But I think what annoys me more is when they're stupid. And they're almost always stupid. I look at any of the people I know that are Trumplefucks, and first and foremost, they're dumb. They're ill-informed, uninformed, misinformed, and they just really don't know what they're talking about. They look at clickbait or headlines and they want to argue a point with that. And I always explain to them, you don't want to do that because I spend all day looking at this stuff, reading about it. And when I see a story that I don't understand, I actually investigate it to find out or try to find out a way to understand it. You motherfuckers don't. Um, Anthony says Trump threatened NATO. Yeah, he's threatened NATO quite a bit. Um, and where do you think that's coming from? Who's the only person, the only country that doesn't like NATO? That's Putin. Because the whole reason NATO was put together was to protect everybody else from fucking Putin and Russia. So Donald Trump is, of course, doing Putin's bidding, and the Republicans are falling right in line. They're with him. They look at Putin as a hero. They look at Russia as somebody we can look up to, and that's a sorry state of affairs in this country. If we were to go back to their favorite Ronald Reagan, he would shit himself if he saw what Donald Trump and the Republicans are doing. Old Soul says he got a participation trophy for something he didn't participate in. How embarrassing. Well, everything Donald Trump does is fucking embarrassing. I mean, he's always aggrandizing himself over stupid shit. And if you notice, he loves when somebody's being successful and he loves to jump on the bandwagon. Remember the first time that Donald Trump bombed Iran? Israel was doing pretty well against Iran, and Donald Trump said, I want some of that. And so he did, and he jumped on board, bombed a couple times, and got the fuck out like a pussy-ass bitch, and thought he was a hero. And he thought that's what he was going to do this time around. I'm sure Netanyahu kind of manipulated him because he's easily manipulated. I said, look, Donnie, you come in here, bomb for a couple days, you blow him out of the water because you're the most powerful guy in the world, and then you'll walk away a hero. Now, Netanyahu knew better than that, but he knew that once he had him in there, he was stuck. So Donald Trump took the bait, did what Netanyahu wanted him to do, and now he finds himself stuck. It's funny, he goes back and forth on things. We won the war. We decimated everything. Yet there are still missiles coming out of Iran into Israel. So you didn't quite decimate them. And then he's surprised that Iran is bombing other Middle Eastern countries and closing the Strait of Hormuz. He goes, who knew? Nobody knew that. Nobody expected that. Well, the fact of the matter is, he was warned of that before he made the decision to go into Iran by his own generals, and he decided that he knew better, and he went in and did what he did. So he knew very well that they would try to close the Strait of Hormuz. He just thought that he was going to be so powerful that they wouldn't have the opportunity. So now they close the Strait of Hormuz, and he goes to our alleged allies and says, you need to help us because you need their oil too. They say, fuck yourself. We don't want any part of this war because it's fucking stupid. And so Donald Trump gets mad and he threatens NATO. You know, if you guys don't get on board, some bad things are going to happen. That sounds all so organized crime, so mafia, doesn't it? But Donald Trump is like the Apple Dumpling Gang, not like the La Cosa Nostra. He's the Apple Dumpling Gang because he fucks up constantly. So now Iran comes out and says, listen, all you people that are neutral, that aren't helping Israel and aren't helping America, you can go through that Strait of Hormuz, no problem. So now Donald Trump's got nobody to help him out, and now he doesn't know what to do. He says he's looking at a ceasefire at some point. He offers 15-point plan. They say, fuck yourself, offer him another 5-point plan. And now he's saying, I don't care if we get a ceasefire. It's kind of like the guy who asked a girl out and says, hey, do you want to go out? I'll take you out to dinner. You want to go out? And she goes, no, I don't want to go out with you. And then he says, that's all right. You're ugly anyway. That's the mentality that we're dealing with Donald Trump. He's a fucking idiot. Let's see here. Somebody's saying Wyoming supports ICE. Would not be surprised about that. That's a heavily red state. Storm Rider says to Anthony, that's basically all he did in the past 12 months. Orders from his bis, you know. Woodsy Person says, at a minimum, I call my senators and representatives every day and call them out on all their bullshit. Yeah, and that's a good thing to do. Just keep people informed as to what their constituents think. But the sad thing about it with our Congress, and this is where the changes have to be made, is that they don't seem to care. I mean, 80% of this country is against the war, but these Republicans still supporting Donald Trump and what he's doing. That's what these representatives and senators have to understand. They are there to represent us, not to make smarter choices because they're smarter than all of us. That's not their job. And they are under the impression that they are elites and they're going to make the decisions because whatever they say is good for us. Well, that's bullshit, and that's got to stop. Benjamin Dover says Putin should be president of the entire world and vice president should be Buckley. Well, I note from your lame ass handle and your comment that you're either a bot or you're just a dumbass. And it could be both. At this point, Trump, the USA would lose any more of NATO, would dissolve of the US, would leave NATO, than it would hurt NATO itself. You know, somebody once said, do you think Donald Trump will leave NATO? Which would weaken NATO. There's no question about it. But would we leave NATO? And I said, I'm more concerned about getting kicked out of NATO as opposed to him leaving NATO. I mean, you've got people taking out their investments. They're not trusting the United States anymore. Having the United States in NATO would be like having Russia in NATO, especially since Russia has so much influence over Donald Trump and over America. I'd be more concerned about them kicking us out. Harley Davidson, enjoyer. I love Fox News. Well, then you're a dumbass. And unfortunately, I have a low tolerance for dumbasses. I just can't. I can't. Loudsey says, I stand with Iran. Now, see, that's That's the thing. People will come to me and say, you're against the war, so you must support Iran. No, Iran's regime is a terrorist organization. I don't like them. I think they should be taken out. But I don't think Donald Trump should walk into Iran with no plan, no strategy, put American military at risk, and throw the world economy in a tailspin. If you're going to do something like this, you got to think a little bit. And thinking isn't Donald Trump's best trait. He doesn't think. He just does things. He's very emotional. He just reacts. He pulls shit out of his ass and he does it. And then when he fucks it up, which is what he always does, then he's got to try to find a way out. Generally, he's been bailed out by somebody, whether it be daddy, Russia, oligarchs. But in this case, he can't be bailed out. They don't have the ability to do that. Then this Harley Davidson enjoyer, this goofball, says, well, then you go live in Iran. Actually, I did get a DM from somebody who is in Iran and asked me to do something. I haven't been able to coordinate that, but I'd be happy to do that. I don't give a fuck. I don't support Iran. I don't support the regime. And I don't support America's regime. If we need a regime change in this country, we need the regime change here in this fucking country. Okay, we've got a lot of bots coming in here. I guess I'm not surprised. Adam Grant says, "Love you, Mike." Thanks, Adam. Love you too. Adam's always with us on the TikTok lives and in the comments all over the place. Um, uh, Effort Alive says, "You're American, and I guess you support Israel." No, I don't support Israel. I don't support the Israeli government. I'm appalled by what the Israeli government has done with regards to genocide. Don't make assumptions, idiot. Why would you assume that? Clearly, you've never seen me before because I've talked plenty of shit about Israel, in spite of the fact that everybody wants to call anybody that speaks out against Israel as anti Semite. You want to call me that? I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I'm not an anti Semite. It's not about people, it's about governments, it's about greedy motherfuckers that want power and money. Having empathy for the Iranian people doesn't mean you support what their government does. No, I get that, and that's a good distinction to make. The innocent people that are dying in Iran, I do have empathy for. The 158 kids that were killed by American missiles, I have great empathy for. And see, that's what I mean. We're talking about governments, we're not talking about the countries. There are good people in Iran that have lived under a fucking horrible regime. There are good people in Israel that have lived under Benjamin Netanyahu and his criminal and corrupt behavior. We know he's criminal and corrupt because once the wars stop, he's going to be going off to fucking jail. I support Israel, the people of Israel. I support Palestinians and the people of Gaza. This is the problem. We have government agencies killing innocent people, and that's a true tragedy. I empathy for people in this country, people who are being shot in the streets here in Minneapolis, people that are having their kids kidnapped and sent to detention camps, people that are being dragged out of their houses. I have empathy for all of them, but I have a deep hatred for the government of this country by way of what they're doing to the people of this country. Stormrider says, from what I understand, he cannot leave NATO per se anyway. Needs Senate confirmation if I recall right. But at this point, he'd kick the U.S. ass if he'd leave. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They passed a law just as before Donald Trump came in that said president cannot take us out of NATO. It's got to go through Congress. So Donald Trump doesn't have that power any more than he has that power to decide to pay TSA and nobody else. That's not to say he won't try. He will try. And that's why I say he will try and he'll make a mess of things. I don't believe Trump should go take Iran out. With the Middle East has nothing to do with us and our troops. If Iran comes, then there's a whole other case scenario. Well, see, that's the thing. He went into Iran suggesting that they had nuclear weapons. Right now, they had nuclear weapons. There's no evidence of that. There's no sense that they had that. Now he wants to cut a deal with them. Well, they had a deal that Donald Trump threw out the window. It was Obama's deal, and he didn't like it because Obama signed to it. He wanted the credit for it, so he thought he'd go put some pressure and bully them and try to get a better deal. Well, it's interesting. If you look at that 15-point plan that he sent to Iran to try to get this ceasefire, it's basically the same thing as Obama had. So he was basically trying to get back what Obama had and he threw out the window, except this time Iran said, no, here's 5 of our demands. And the reason they did that, what's the point? See, Iran doesn't want to negotiate a ceasefire with Donald Trump. Same reason people don't want to negotiate tariff deals with him. Because you'll say one thing, do another, and then change it back, and then change it back again. Donald Trump is a pathological liar. He's a fucking imbecile. And you cannot negotiate with an imbecile because you can't trust that they'll stick to their word. And Donald Trump is clearly not somebody you can trust. Sosa Man says, top of the morning to you, no matter what your situation. Don't know what that means, but thank you. Turkey says, lovely state of affairs from a prez that was apparently approved by the maker of the universe. Yeah, I always get a laugh when I hear evangelicals and religious right folks say that he's ordained or anointed by God. Fuck you. You know what's going to happen here? There's going to be a lot of change after Donald Trump leaves office because there's going to be a lot of shit that comes out about him. I believe all of the information about the Epstein files is going to come out once Donald Trump is not able to hold it back. I think of all of his criminal activity as president of the United States will come to the forefront. And Donald Trump will be a pariah in history. There's no question about it. And it's going to take down the Republican Party. It could take the entire governmental system down of our country. But I think it's also going to take a heavy toll on organized religion in this country. Organized religion has a problem. Organized religion, at least the far right, are supporting somebody who is a dictator, a fascist, a criminal. That's not going to wear well for them when this is all over, especially all that will be revealed. We also have a lot of young people coming of age. Millennials and Gen Zs will be taking control of the voting bloc. They're not feeling as strong about organized religion. So I think the Republican Party is going to go down just by virtue of what they're doing and young people coming to the forefront. And I think religion's going to take a serious hit, at least the far right religion. They aren't going to be trusted anymore. Trump needs to worry about Americans and have his people live with free Medicare and free housing if Israel can. We should also look into the Epstein files, but we're too busy worried in foreign places. Yeah, I've said that. With all that's gone on with the ACA subsidies and how they've canceled them and people are suffering and struggling right now, we spent all these years talking about the Obamacare or the ACA. After what's happened in this term with Donald Trump and the Republicans, I say we don't talk about Obamacare. We don't try to fix Obamacare. The only thing we can do is start focusing on universal health care. Every industrialized nation has universal health care. We are the richest country in the world, and we don't have universal health care. And the reason we don't is because the members of Congress get money from big pharmaceuticals, the insurance lobby, the medical lobby, to make sure everything stays as it is, so they can continue to grift this country and rape this country of all of its money. People are going through some things now, and they're pissed. And I think there's going to be more of a taste for universal health care. I think that's what we need to focus on. Just Maggie says, Mike, we can get these bots out. We really appreciate your lives, daily videos, and guests. We're the same age, and you give your real audience some hope. Big love from Vermont. Well, thank you, Maggie. Love Vermont, by the way. I've spent a couple of times in Vermont, in Burlington and Montpelier, and it's a beautiful state. I can't wait to get back there. Probably go back next fall. Thank you, Maggie. And don't worry about the bots. I expect that here on YouTube. Um, it's really no big deal. They try so hard to make a point and to have an impact, but they have none. They don't have any fucking impact. They're inconsequential. See, that's the thing about Trumplafucks. They want to be in your face and they want to elicit a reaction. And the fact of the matter is if you just ignore them and make them inconsequential, that pisses them off even more. Tung Fong, please give me a good reason to BS Trump. Not sure what you mean there. I realize we might be dealing with a language barrier here, and I'm sorry for that. If you're asking, give me a good reason to go against Donald Trump. Well, if you're in this country and you don't know, you're too far gone. I can't fucking help you. If you're outside the country, all you have to do is read some of the news stories. Go to the BBC, go to Al Jazeera, go to those places. If you can't decide that Donald Trump is not a good thing with that, I can't help you. Timothy Lee says, funny thing is, if they bring back the draft, do you think they will care if you're a woke Dem? First of all, they're not bringing back the draft. I guarantee you they're not bringing back the draft. If they bring back the draft, they're going to have to do it through Congress. And anybody that votes for the draft in this day and age is going to commit political suicide. You hear Donald Trump and you hear the Republicans talking about the draft. They're trying to make you afraid. And if you are afraid, you fucking already lost. They aren't going to bring back the draft. There's no way that's going to happen. Adam Grant says, Trump has said they did and didn't 3 weeks apart. Yeah, he's saying he won the war and then he doesn't care if there's a ceasefire. I just have a question for Trumplafucks. Donald Trump says we won the war, we decimated everything. And now he's trying to negotiate a ceasefire. And he's trying to get help to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. If you completely and totally beat Iran, you beat them into the ground, you decimate them, as you say. Why do we need a ceasefire? Why do we need help with Strait of Hormuz? Because it's bullshit. He's lying. He's trying to make people believe that he won when he fucking lost. He's losing this war. And that's the sad thing. Somebody keeps saying, if hoax is your power, what are you without it? Okay. You know what? You posted that 27 times. You're fucking gone. I don't understand your point. Johnny Mueller, you're a dipshit. Adam Grant says, Trump is a fart blower. He goes where the wind goes. Yeah, I agree. Darren Conley says, wow, I'm glad I came here. You're spitting facts and you're very informative. Well, thank you, Darren. If you're on YouTube regularly, I have short videos that I put out. I have a podcast that I put out, and I'm going to come here and give more lives. I really enjoy YouTube in spite of the bots. Actually, I kind of enjoy them. It gives me a chance to get a little off my chest, and it's kind of cathartic. Darren Conley says, I'm a rational boomer as well. You make a good point there. People always say, you're the rational boomer, and I'm not the rational boomer. I'm a rational boomer. There are a lot of rational boomers. Boomers get a bad rap sometimes that we're all Trump-humping, stupid motherfuckers. Now, I'll grant you, there are a lot of boomers that are Trump-humping, stupid motherfuckers. But there's a lot that aren't. And case in point would be on my TikTok page, I have 500,000 followers. I would say 99% of them are positive and are of a like mind. So there's plenty of us out there. It's just that the dumbasses get the biggest press. So I appreciate that you are a rational boomer as well as I am. There is no the rational boomer. There's a number of rational boomers. Boomer, have you seen Australia is running out of gas and diesel? I have heard that. I don't know a lot about it, Australia, but I know that you guys are having problems down there. And we know what being without gas and energy down in Cuba is doing to that small island. I hope things get better in Australia. Um, is the reason Australia doesn't have the oil, is it because of the Strait of Hormuz? As I understand it, the traffic coming out of the Strait of Hormuz is down by 90%, and they affect 20% of the world's oil. So that is a significant thing, and why we're seeing oil prices going up. But I have to assume that's why Australia isn't getting the oil it needs. Your generation is what got us here. That's interesting. You would say that. I get that a lot. There's a lot of millennials and Gen Zs that blame the boomers. They're selfish. They do this. And then boomers will say the millennials and the Gen Zs are lazy. Here's what you need to understand. If you're a boomer complaining about millennials, understand one thing. Boomers raised those motherfuckers. If you got problems with millennials, maybe you should look at your parenting skills. And you millennials, if you're complaining about your parents, then you've got a problem too. I told my son this one time. I said, I'm a young boomer, so I know that a lot of the older boomers are where the problem is. But I get lumped into that because I'm a boomer. My son was talking to me about how boomers did this and did that. And I said, that's funny. Because when you were 10 years old and I took you down to Target to buy your birthday present, we spent $250 on plastic Batman shit. And he didn't seem too worried about selfishness at that point. When you cast a wide net over everybody, you're making a mistake. All boomers didn't get us here. You have to understand the people in Congress when boomers were younger were the older people. It's government that gets us here. It's greed that gets us here. Boomers may have had more opportunities. And you know why they had more opportunities in the 50s and 60s? Because we fucking taxed the rich. You can blame boomers all you want, and it doesn't hurt my feelings. I know what I've done, and I know what I've got going. But at this point, whining about what happened years ago isn't going to fucking help you. Instead of whining about who got you here, figure out what you're going to do to fix it. Because here's the deal. I'm here talking about this stuff because I'm concerned about my grandkids. I don't want to leave a shit show to my grandkids. But you're the adults now. You're the ones that will be in control. Blaming other people doesn't get you fucking anywhere. Now's the time to get off your ass, start to vote, get involved, speak out, do what you got to do, because it's your responsibility now to fix whatever problem we have. You don't think there were problems for boomers when they came in? Absolutely. So instead of whining about who did this to you, go out and do something. Because here's the deal. 20 years from now, you're going to be dealing with the shit we're dealing with now, but even worse if nothing's done. You're going to be dealing with this. Guess where I'm going to be? I'm going to be fucking probably dead. That's why I'm saying you've got to elect young people into Congress and into the presidency. Do you really want an old white motherfucker like me determining your destiny? I don't fucking think so. Now's the time to take control. Stop whining about what happened yesterday and start fixing fucking today. Old Soul says, my daughter has a roommate from Australia. I just found out that they are running out. Also, the Philippines are down to about 40 weeks worth of oil. Yeah, I saw that about the Philippines too. See, that's what you have to understand. Donald Trump hasn't just disrupted this country, meaning America. He's disrupted and turned upside down the entire world as far as energy and as far as economically. He's a fucking mess. And if the Republicans had any balls at all, they would have gotten rid of Donald Trump by now. That's the thing you have to understand. Donald Trump couldn't do all this stuff unless the Republicans in Congress allowed him to do it. They had plenty of opportunities to shut him down and get rid of him, but they chose not to, either out of fear or complicity. So when this is all said and done and Donald Trump is choking on a Big Mac, you look to those Republicans in Congress and say, you fucking did this. You did this, and now you're going to have to pay. Cap in USA, life care insurance, or are we having gender reaffirming care as the main goal? That's the funny thing. Everybody in the Republican Party is worried about transgender folks and gender reaffirming and all this stuff. Do you know how much effect that has on this country or sports? Very little. Republicans have to pick out a villain and create fear with those people. It's pointless. It's stupid. And it's just a typical strategy of the Republicans. Darren Conley, I hate when someone says both parties. There's no comparison whatsoever. When blue is in control, the economy is much stronger, more jobs, less inflation, less deficit, facts, and no comparison. You're absolutely right. Now, I will say there are some problems with Democrats. Not all Democrats, but some Democrats, because some of those Democrats aren't that far off from Republicans when Republicans were normal. People will say, well, both parties are bad, so I'm not going to vote, or I'm going to vote for a third party. That's stupid. These are people who think they can get exactly what they want the way they want it when they vote. And that's not the way this goes. Things in politics move slowly. They move very slowly. We've got the Republicans causing all kinds of havoc. We need to eradicate all Republicans from Donald Trump all the way down. We need to do that to get on the path to fix this shit. We're not going to fix it completely when we get the Republicans out, but at least we're on the right path. If you sit on your ass and don't vote for anybody or vote for a third party, you're going to hand it to the Republicans. And guess what? If you hand it to the Republicans, you're never going to get what you want. If you vote for the Democrats, you may not get what you want now, but at least you're headed in the right direction and you have the ability to get down the road. So this isn't a tough question. I can pick Trump or just not get involved, or the Republicans, and be turned into a fascist state. You could do that. And you could pout and say, well, my Democratic representative wasn't exactly what I want. Or you can vote for the person that maybe doesn't fit all the needs you want. Vote for that person and then be patient enough. Don't be a fucking child. Be patient enough to say, okay, the next time I'm going to get more, and the next time I'm going to get more. Everybody wants immediate gratification, and that's not going to work in politics. I mean, even if the Democrats get in control, you're going to think that everything needs to be fixed tomorrow, and it won't be. Donald Trump has created too much damage, too much rubble, and it's going to take time, and you better be patient once these Democrats take over, because they're not going to be able to turn everything around in a fucking moment's notice. Watch for England to follow the U.S. with immigrant issue. India is immigrant, but England is not dumb America either. That's true. Rita says, old soul, I read about the Philippines. My youngest son is planning to go to the Philippines in April for 3 weeks. I think he should postpone. However, I think he is still going. Yeah, you know what? I don't know much about the Philippines, but what I've read, I would maybe think about postponing it. I'll be personally honest with you. I don't travel overseas at all, but I wanted to. Until this whole mess is done, I'm not going to go outside the country. Because I know the people outside the country maybe don't hold the citizens responsible for what Donald Trump has done. Donald Trump is still imposing himself on all these countries and causing a lot of problems and distress. And I just don't want to rub it in their face. Not to say that people shouldn't go overseas. People have reasons to go overseas. Old Soul has a reason to go overseas. But I'm just going to hang here until things get a little better, until we're back on the right track, and we're not close yet. Old Soul says, "Oh my God, my daughter was supposed to go for a humanitarian project, but she isn't going this year. Is your son still going?" Yeah, Old Soul told me about that. Her daughter was supposed to go down to the Philippines for a humanitarian thing, and now they've said that's probably not a good idea, probably not safe for Americans. Um, and I got to be honest with you, I'd rather be safe than sorry. I mean, it's one thing to be in America and worry about ICE, but if you're in a foreign country, maybe a third world country, and people are going through some serious shit and they just don't like Americans, that's probably not a good place to be. Pratham Moore says, "Do you know Dixon Mayaz? Are you 4?" Pratham Moore. He's a dipshit motherfucker. He thinks he's funny. You know, I've always told people if you're not funny and try to be funny, you're going to look stupid. And Pratham, you look stupid. It's not funny. It's not funny. You're a joke. And you're inconsequential, so fuck off. Bert Montoya brings up fertilizer. Yeah, that's another thing we've got to consider. A lot of fertilizer comes through that strait. And haven't the farmers been fucked over enough by Donald Trump? Now they're not going to be able to get as much fertilizer, or at least not pay the prices they're used to. They're going to pay higher prices. That's what Donald Trump does. Everything he's ever been involved in turns into a fucking mess, and everybody pays the price except Donald Trump. He may have come to the point where he's not going to be able to get away with it anymore, and he's going to be held accountable. I got my fingers crossed on that motherfucker and hope that's the case. Ashok Nishad, my brother, love from India. Nice to meet you. Thank you for the kind words. I tell you what, we're about at that point. I'm going to wrap up this live. I'm going to try to do some more, maybe a couple, 3 every week. Do it at different times so we get different folks up here. But I want to thank you all for participating. I wasn't sure what to expect when I stepped in here. I didn't know if we'd have people coming in, and then I thought to myself, fuck, you're going to have to talk for an hour. You're on your own, and that's going to suck. That's going to bore me. God knows who else it'll bore. But you came through, and I appreciate it immensely. Thank you very much. Be looking for the short form videos here on YouTube. Be looking for the podcast, Rational Boomer Podcast. You've got the video version here. You've got the audio and video version over at the Spotify. So we're out there. We're easy to find. Just type in Rational Boomer on whatever platform and you'll come across the stuff we're doing. So again, thank you very much for taking the time to listen and participate. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again very soon.